Welcome to Coffee with the Candidates. Today we have incumbent Sarah Carda, who is running for Yankton School Board. Once again, the election date is April 12th. Election locations, City Hall and Fire Station number 2. And I would encourage you, take a look at where you live and see if you are in the Yankton School District. The boundaries are much broader than Yankton city limits. You can go to Department of Education's website and see that, or they will be putting that also on the Yankton School District website, so you can check your own location to see if you qualify for the Yankton School District election. Sarah, why don't we go ahead and start? Tell me a little bit about yourself.
All right. Well, my husband and I moved back to Yankton a little over 20 years ago. My husband's actually a graduate of Yankton High School, and really a job led me back to the area. And so we brought 2 young children and then added another along the way. So all 3 of my children have been a part of the Yankton School District. My son, Sam, graduated, and so did Lucas, and then I have a daughter, Anna, who's just going to be graduating this year in just a few more months. It's going to happen quickly. My son Lucas is out working in the community as well as Sam, and our son Sam actually has our first granddaughter, and so we have our granddaughter and spend lots of time, and she's just been a joy to us. In a former life, I was the Vice President and Dean for Student Affairs for Mount Marty for almost 18 years. And unfortunately, some complications from a medical procedure really forced my decision to have to stop out for health reasons. And so that was a very difficult decision. So after that, I was sort of left wondering, what in the world am I going to do? And fortunately, our granddaughter Sunshine popped in about that time. So really, my husband and I have made a commitment that we want to see her through to at least preschool. So I spend most of my week taking care of my granddaughter, and that's it's just been a joy. Because our youngest son, Lucas, was diagnosed with autism at age 3, I've become very involved in some disability advocacy movements within the state, and had the opportunity to spend and sit on and be a part of multiple statewide committee and even some governor's councils along the way. So it's been a passion project of mine. And also, to give back to those that have done so much to him, because so many people have invested in him. Unfortunately, I think my health is on the mend. I've had a reconstructive surgery that's made my life a lot better. So I'm just really hoping to get back to the things that me and my family love to do. We like to camp, I like to exercise, I like to do a lot of different things. We're fortunate enough to have extended family in Yankton, and that's one of the reasons why we moved back. So my husband's parents are in town and my mother's in town. So we spend lots and lots of time with them and our family.
So as a reminder, how many years have you already served on the school board, and why are you running for another term?
Okay, I have served 3 terms, so 9 years. Why am I running for another term? Yeah, I've asked myself that too. But really, honestly, the number one reason that I want to run again is to keep the momentum of the school district. There has been some amazing things that's happened in the last 9 years, and I really want to see some of the things through. And at the heart of everything that's happened is really that strategic planning process that is up until 2024. And obviously the school board has final approval on that. And, we sort of advise and are kept abreast by the administration. And they've just done a fabulous job. So I kind of felt like it'd just be a disservice to leave some of those major things in the lurch and to go forward. And I'm not one to really naturally think of myself for running for an office or really put myself out there. I have a story about 9 years ago when I was asked to run. I really wasn't sure I wanted to do it. It wasn't on my radar, but I did it because I did think it was the right thing to do to give back and be a part of the community. And I ended up really enjoying it to the point that I have wanted to be a part of it and remain a part of it. Our granddaughter Sunshine again is going to be in preschool next year, so some of the initiatives that are happening are just the perfect timing to see her go through and be a beneficiary of the things that we're doing. And also, I'm deeply concerned about the rhetoric that's happening right now, and about school boards and school board meetings. It's no surprise to know you can read about members of the school boards are leaving in hordes. They just don't want to deal with some of what's happening and putting themselves out personally. And, honestly, I've experienced some of that in my tenure, but nothing like the last 2 years, and especially the last year. Lots of personal attacks, but we just can't let bullying behavior and that kind of rhetoric really take over our district. And really, Yankton has had some situations in not so past that we've let a person or an idea really hijack some of the good progress that can be made in our boards.
So as an elected official, it's hard to put aside your personal beliefs and represent the majority of your constituents. Can you give me an example of how you do that as a Yankton School Board member?
Well, sure. I've thought a lot about that question because I think the thing that I really honestly appreciate about the school board is most of the times we're given the information, we do the homework, we understand why. If there's a lot of moving parts, that we take our time to make that decision. So there hasn't been a lot that I have just absolutely disagreed with, or that I have heard from constituents about disagreement. I think sometimes I'm surprised about how little people come forward to give their opinions. I wish there was a little bit more of that. So most, some of the things that I can think of specifically have been in like executive sessions, and so that's not something I can share, probably where I've had some different views. But the real elephant in the room, to me, is the mask discussion and what we've been having, especially the last year. And it's a unique situation that, that all of us are put in, forced upon by a pandemic no one could have predicted, and just really forced to make some really difficult decisions that we just knew, regardless of the decision, we were not going to please everyone. People had some very, very strong views on both sides. And so I've spent lots of nights thinking about the issue and some of the things that got brought up. And honestly, a lot of the issues that got brought up were really things to think about: parental choice and medical issues, those kind of things. But I do think it's kind of digressed and getting just a little almost dangerous with some of the things that are being thrown out there, and really unfair. I mean, I think about some of the comments like it's all about money, or we're making decisions based on such and such, and it's just not true. I think decisions were based on just trying to do the right thing at the right time with what information that we had. And so I think a lot of people might have felt maybe they weren't listened to or whatever, and that's really unfortunate, because I can tell you that there were with this particular subject, by and far large, the most input we've gotten from the public on both sides, quite frankly, that kind of thing. So that's probably one of the things, and I don't even want to say that it was a personal belief, because I don't necessarily think my personal belief on the matter was necessarily the reason why I voted. It really had to do with just, like I said, taking everything into consideration, all our constituents, and then making the best decision at that time.
So as a follow-up to that, it sounds like you value the feedback that you get and the communication from the community. Can you tell me a variety of options that people would have to reach out to school board members so they feel they can be a part of the process, whether they agree with something or maybe don't agree with something?
Well, sure. If you go look at on the Yankton School District website, there is a specific area for the school board, and in there you can listen to live feeds, you can watch former meetings, our emails are all on there. You can individually, or you can contact us individually, you can contact us as a group. There's a school board, contact your school board, and it automatically is given just to the 5 school board members. It doesn't necessarily get filtered through administration or anything. It is meant that the people and parents and everybody in the community can directly contact us. I'm on Facebook. I have a public profile. A lot of people have messaged me. A lot of people have called me, texted me, all those different ways. And I'm more than happy to listen. In fact, I appreciated so many people that did contact me and sent me videos or sent me links and that kind of thing. And I did listen to them all and read them all. May not have gotten back to some. Some were a little over the top, and but listening, absolutely, for sure.
So can you tell me what your priority projects are for the Yankton School District?
Sure. Well, my priorities have always been to be really innovative and progressive about learning. Because that's really why our students are in the district, right? And I remember when I became a new president years ago, I went to a training and they really challenged us to think about what's the most important thing we do and how prevalent is it on our agenda? And are we using our time on what is the most important? And so if you notice on the agenda, you'll see good news / student achievement. And that was directly as a result of that, because I want to hear, I think the rest of the school board members want to hear, how are we doing? Is our learning adequate? What's our test scores? How do our test scores relate to other districts? It's important to me that we're competitive. I know we are, especially when it comes to some of the high school ACT statistics, that kind of thing. But there's no question that that's the most important thing. And I was thinking back, well, let me just say one more thing, is that it's not just the learning scores for the learning scores to be competitive, but the whole idea behind a school district and the taxpayers is it's an investment in the community. And so we're investing in those students so that when they graduate, whether they go to higher ed, whether they go to a tech school, or whether they join our workforce, that they're the best prepared they can possibly be. And so that is very, very important to me. As far as those things, I like data. I'm kind of a nerd. I like those, how are we, that kind of thing. And especially with my experience at the college level, it matters. All school districts are not the same. We would see kids coming in with 4.0s from districts that were no more prepared to succeed at a college setting. And the one thing, honestly, I remember when we had a Yankton kid, always knew they were prepared. And honestly, our ACTs in the high school are higher than some of our regional colleges and universities in the area, if that says something, as far as how well they were prepared. So a part of that too is I get excited about things like curriculum integration, those kind of things, and some of the educational technology integrations that we've been able to do. And I'm not sure everybody follows that in detail. It's not as exciting as some of the other things, but it's absolutely rudimentary to what we do. And by having those things, we're able to be very nimble as far as what are our gaps, whether it's across the building or whether it's state, using our statewide scores to then make changes. And so you'll see that in our board agenda, like our last March meeting, you'll see we're creating a new program about some math integration strategies. And that's all because we know where some of the gaps are, what we need to do, how we prioritize that money. So that's especially important to me.
So it's exciting to hear all those great things happening in the district. And a lot of those do not happen independently. You need those partnerships and collaborations. You know, it can be regional, statewide, or even national. So can you tell us what you will do to help strengthen existing relationships and collaborations, or maybe try to grow some new ones?
Sure. I guess, just looking back, kind of reflecting on just getting prepared, for this upcoming election cycle, just thinking about what's happened in the last 9 years, I'm not sure everybody can really appreciate how many partnerships we already have within the community and what has been done and wouldn't have been done without those partnerships. Things like working with the city of Yankton to get school resource officers, increase the safety of our students. And we use some different funds, federal funds, to retrofit all our buildings as far as safety and security, to keep unwelcome visitors out, that kind of thing. Some incredible mental health initiatives, working with Lewis and Clark Behavioral Services Center for DSS, Child Protective Services, to come up with some care systems for our students, direct, not just local, but state, those kind of things that really hit to the heart of, the most vulnerable of our students and that learning. Think of our Career and Technical Education Center with the city, with RTech, taking over that building, just creating amazing opportunities for our students and for the workforce, specifically of Yankton, when you think about it. Boys and Girls Club, boy, when that idea came, I thought that was pie in the sky, and Yankton made it happen. And we were just so fortunate that we were able to be a part of that, donate the land, make it work really well with what we already have, so that we have before school care, after school care, some great summer programming in that area that directly benefit our students. Mount Marty University, you know that a lot of their athletic don't have their own specific fields. We've been able to partner with them sort of as a local to work and kind of share some of the facilities burdens, that kind of things. The Yankton High School Internship Program. So all those things are really important, and important that we keep and maintain. There's not one in there that we wouldn't want to maintain. But also, I think as we look farther, what are the needs? What are the needs in the community? I think one that comes up is, along with the Boys and Girls Club, as far as that before and after school, what about daycare? What about creating opportunities that young families, it's just, we make it easy for them. I know you have to work. There's a lot of two-parent families. Look what the district can help you do with. That's very important. This working with the city on multiple items, the future of our Summit Center, what are we going to do with that? How is that space best utilized? And then, again, keeping along the same lines of what are the changing trends of Yankton's workforce, the state's workforce? How do we respond to some of those changes and educate the kids and add different things to our curriculum? Those things are all really important as far as partnerships. But that is actually one of the things I'm most proud of what our administration has done, is really reached out, been transparent, and actively sought out those partnerships, not just waited for them to say, hey, can you help me? How can we help you?
It's amazing how stressful the last couple of years have been, but all of those partnerships and programs that you just reminded us of that are happening in the community, they're so easy for us to forget that they're still continuing. The school resource officer, I remember when that program started and how everybody thought in the community, like, how are we going to make this happen? How are we going to be able to make it continue? And it's just been a huge success. So I commend the district for working on those programs and continuing to be innovative in them as well. So can you name one project that you are proud the school district has accomplished, even though you just named several?
I know.
And is there one that maybe you think could have gone better?
Well, I guess right now my mind tends to what I'm really proud of is what's happening right now on that community task force for elementary school facilities. What I'm really proud, and I had a chance to be a part of it, and just because another member of the facilities committee couldn't be, so I was at a part of them, and I really thought the process was amazing, and who was in the room, who was wanted in the room, who was all part of making this decision. It certainly wasn't an administration meeting with just our school building principals, that kind of thing. Really opened it up to all different people in the community to get their input. Use teachers, young parents, just all different people in the community. And so it just shows another example of how the district, and I know Dr. Kendall's especially amazing about this, is trying to be transparent about all the decisions we're making. We want parents to be involved. We want parents to be involved in talking about our future and what's happening. So I really think that that's important, and it's deriving from our strategic plan. That's probably really it's the heart of everything. And honestly, facility issues is always, like I said, I like the curriculum issues. I like the learning. I like to know that kind of thing. But facilities issues, I know, are equally as important. They really are. In fact, one of the other things we did was the Crane Youngworth facility. And I remember thinking, wow, should we really be spending that much money on this facility? But really, again, I didn't understand the complexities of how you do the finances, especially at a school district. And there's certain money you can spend on this and certain money you can spend on that. And it made sense. But one of the reasons why it made sense to me, and I remember vividly talking to another board member about this, is, okay, let's get this facility stuff, let's even jumpstart it so we can really focus then on classroom and learning and that kind of thing. So I'm really proud that they did that. Great area for a facility for our whole community in so many ways, and we gather about that. But also, that's why we were able to spend more time on things like the curriculum interventionists. And if you remember 9 years ago, I remember my first meetings, we were talking about library aids. We didn't have library aids, and so that's those kind of things that we can talk about that. So yeah, I think it's that facilities task force, and just exciting about what's going to happen.
So in full disclosure, I do serve on that task force for the Early Childhood Development Center. Can you share some more thoughts and funding and all of that on that facility?
Well, I think the most exciting thing about it is we don't have to go out and try to raise the funds and do a big project. That because the school district and Jason Beats' financial manager does an excellent job, really keeps track of all that so that we're able to do that, on our own without having to go. And now there's other steps to it that we're going to have to be thinking about down the road. But right now we're able to make this happen, something really exciting in the near future. That will directly affect, our younger, but it's all about the base that they're given as far as to get there. And as far as early childhood education, it is just such an excellent investment. It closes that gap about who can afford preschool versus who can't. There was clearly, we were told all sorts of things about how much better prepared those that have kindergarten or preschool at kindergarten are for learning. And we're just seeing those gaps close and close and close. And that's really exciting. And I think it helps parents at that age, daycare situations, not just that, but it just helps parents to give their kids an opportunity, those that aren't working are working, to have that socialization. I don't know if that answers your question, but it's not done yet. We're not done dreaming yet about it, but I think it's only because there has been so much forethought and working with finances to make sure we're in the right place that this can happen.
So you mentioned transparency before, and I know that the school district is looking to be very transparent in this process. Can you talk about some of the ways they're either through hosting meetings or other activities to get people involved with the Early Childhood Development Center planning?
Well, I think the major issue is that we're always trying to seek input, invited to those meetings. There's going to be a major community meeting coming up, and you'll have to help me with that date. Is it April
18th?
Okay, 18th. Okay, so thank you. I think it's that second Monday, and we're having a special school board meeting to address that, or to open it up to everybody in the community to hear it. I really thought in many, many ways the last time it was being presented was very transparent. It's online. You can hear about what's happening. We heard about from people of the committee, but I think that Again, it's the way that the strategic plan was done. You know, you send out surveys, you get people's input, you kind of brainstorm on who should be a part of it to try to draw in all different areas of the community, not just teachers. That's what's important to me. When I was in that room, there was teachers there was a definite administrator teacher presence, but that wasn't the only presence there, and so that's important.
So if you listen to all the other candidate interviews, you'll know that I made this statement in one of the other interviews as well. What surprised me the most was when we came in there to the first meeting, there was no preconceived notion of what the end result was going to be. Mm-hmm. They really did a good job of soliciting feedback and developing a plan that was right for Yankton, that was right for the district, based upon the people who were sitting in that room, right, and providing that input. And that's what I thought was really, right, really just invigorating as you're sitting in there and you're hearing ideas from other people, like, I hadn't thought of that, and this is a great idea, and how do we collaborate? What partnerships do we need to make happen to build a facility like this in our community?
And it has a lot to do with picking the right firm to do that has a background and are experts and can facilitate that. Not everybody can do that, but I think they've been doing an excellent job. We're pleased with them.
So in closing, is there something you would like to mention today that was not a part of the previously asked questions that will help the voters decide if you have earned their vote?
All right. Can I just double back on a question you asked me about what could have gone better?
Absolutely.
Before I go with that? Again, the elephant in the room, what could have gone better? Hindsight, maybe some of the masking discussions. There was many misunderstandings out there as far as that. And I think some of it just goes to the heart of misunderstandings of the basic structure and flow of the board and the board meetings and what's to happen. We always have, it's every part of it by statute, we have an area for public comment. And we use that time as a real listening session. We're listening to people. And so I think some people think that, or unfortunately thinks, hey, we weren't listened to, because as if we were going to just sit in that meeting and take a poll of who might have been in the audience at that particular time. And I think it's more than that. We received many emails and calls from many supporters of the initiative who just didn't feel comfortable being present. And so, again, no win situation. Would we do it differently? We might do it differently. I wish we could have used technology better. I wish we could have made it clear to everyone about how the situation was going to work, and we listened to you, and then maybe the feedback loop a little bit better. But that isn't the way that the meetings are structured right now, and so it's probably something to live in and to live and learn about that. But I guess I look back at that situation, and even though some of the most difficult meetings, obviously, I've been a part of, and I urge you to go back and look at some of those meetings to see what some of the things that were discussed initially and who was discussing. I mean, there were just all sorts of things in those meetings, and attacks and whatever. But yet, I think the bottom line is we listened. We did listen and we hear and that kind of thing. But could I go back and maybe figure out better feedback loops so everybody sort of was on the same page? I would probably do that. Although I think it's such a divisive issue, I'm not sure we'd ever come to a point of consensus. I think it's one of those that would lack that ability. So you asked me if there's anything else I wanted to talk about. And I guess the main thing, I've talked about the momentum that the school has had, the district has had, and I'm proud that as a school board member, I've been a part of that, and it's been just personally gratifying. But I just would think I'm remiss if I wouldn't say, and I was lucky because my terms coincided with Dr. Kindle being the superintendent, and our district is very, very lucky to have the administration we have. We're very, very lucky to have the leadership that's respected within the state. But one thing I like about our administration team is I truly believe they care about that student. When decisions are made, it's about need, not money. We'll figure out the money. We'll figure out those kind of things. And that's amazing, you know, to know they care so much about those students. So I keep thinking, what could we have accomplished without COVID? And what could we have accomplished without the disruptions we've had? I mean, they are on such a good course. And I'm very proud that they were able to get done with what they did get done with. Just things that we couldn't have predicted with a worldwide pandemic. So, and then I guess finally, I just want to thank all those people who have reached out and have been supportive. They may not have agreed with everything we did, but there has been so many times people have just reached out and said, thank you for doing what you're doing. And I appreciate that. That means a lot, and helps us to serve and want to do it.
Well, I will say, Sarah Carda, thank you for joining us today with Coffee with the Candidates. And as a reminder, voting is on April 12th and absentee voting starts on March 28th. Thank you again.
Thank you.